Good afternoon, viewers, and welcome to Nigeria Now, where we look at some of the issues that affect us as Nigerians, looking at education, security, economy, and a lot of even government policies as well. And today we will be looking at a number of those issues today. So we will beg your indulgence to join us live on Facebook and on YouTube, and then drop your views also on any of this story or any of this issue that is actually very dear to your heart. I am Sada Elisha Dasham, and I will be doing the program with Rachel Tansey. Good afternoon, Rachel.
Afternoon, Sarah.
All right, quite a number of stories on our plate this afternoon, and we'd love to start by looking at it's that time already where we'll be seeing a lot of governors presenting the 2024 appropriation bill, which is popularly known as the budget, and we're seeing that Enugu, Oyo, Sokoto, Edo, and a number of states are still dropping the budget. And it's quite commendable, Rachel, because we saw that of Enugu where he allocated about 33% to education, and a lot of people are, telling him that a lot of governors need to take, example from him.
Yes.
Because, I mean, that is quite a huge amount of money to allocate to education. That is to say, he has realized the importance of education. We keep hammering on the fact that for any nation or for any state to thrive, education needs to be given top priority, because once you neglect that sector, that means you are calling for the failure of your state or even the country entirely. And we are seeing the number of out-of-school children in various states. In fact, I remember you and I saw that of FCT and some of the
Yes.
learning environment. You cannot just help but pity the people who have to sit under such an environment to learn. And I really have to give it to him for actually allocating such a huge amount of money to that sector. And this is something that I believe that should not just stop for 2024,
Yes,
but we should be seeing governors taking this down till even the end of their tenure. And I'm hoping to see more of these steps taken by other governors of other states as they present their budget to the State House of Assembly.
Sarah, talking about that, I can't just help but chip this in, that I hope that these billions going to education at the state level is for investing and developing education in Nigeria, because we saw it and we treated it where we are seeing over 4 million out of school students in the north in states like Katsina, Zamfara, and Kano, and yet the state government are spending billions on scholarship for students to go and school abroad. So I just hope that when we see these billions like that of Makinde giving over 20% to education, that's about 90.6 billion naira to education at his state, and for Enugu Mba giving over 33%, that is over 171.93 billion naira to education. We just want to see that is strictly and mainly for developing education at the state level, for reducing the number of out-of-school students in the state, and we just hope that it will not be on scholarships abroad, because we need our education system up and running in the state. And of course, we would like to see the same replica for every other state governor. Let's see education getting over 20% of your budget, because imagine the drastic growth that will bring if we can have this consistently for a 4-year period. We are looking beyond 2024. We can go as far as 2025, 26, and down to 2027 before a term is finished and before a new administrator come in. Let it be that we have governors that have the mindset of education, because this is our concern. It's not just the chunk of this money is going to education, but also implementing it. That, do you know that after a long period of time, we will be able to see that that's for Governor Mba saying there are going to be over 260 ultra-modern schools. That let's see that after this 2024, the government have made at least 50. And then we can now step into 2025 and see, 50 more has been done. The following year, let's see 70 more has been done. And before you know it, the last lap, there are just few more numbers done. And this 260 is completed. Because when you look at this money, it is almost like what is being given or even above. what is being given to UBEC by the federal government budget of 2024, where we are saying 251 billion being given to basic education, and we are having a state government giving over 171 billion to education at the state level. And whether we like it or not, this is a good amount of money, in as much as this will not go only to primary education, but let's see the tertiary universities, our tertiary institutions also functioning, because when we look at it from the federal government level, it's a bit cumbersome in the sense that we only have at most one federal university in every state. But imagine where we have the states not only having their state universities, but having university that is just for sciences and technology, having university that is just for art, having university that is for mineral resources and all of that. Imagine the polytechnics at the state level, colleges springing up at and having standard that, of course, these students in that school will not feel less because they also have the same quality that can be achieved at the federal government. This is what the state, because that is the level where people feel the impact of the government more directly to them. So let's wait and see a consistent implementation. Not after all of this huge sum of money, then tomorrow there's nothing to show for, because that has been the practice in Nigeria. It looks like so much has been allocated to certain things, but later it can't be accounted for. There is no work and the money is gone. So I just hope that we will see governors being on their toes, that this money really goes into education. And trust me, we will be able to see a significant amount of development when it comes to education at the state level.
You know, I love the way you keep using the word consistency, because over the years, that is something that has been lacking in our government. We'll say particular administration starting at this point, and then the next administration will come, and then he has his own personal agenda. He has his own things that he wants to concentrate on.
True.
And nobody continue with that. So I believe that if we are to continue this consistency, because we know Governor Mba is new, he's just coming in as a governor, even though that of Oyo, this is the second term. So possibly he's already started something which he's hoping to complete. So, and many other states as well that will be just like you said, should actually take a lead from what he has done. So our fingers are crossed. We hope that we'll be consistent with that, and then we hope to see the work. Let's be seeing contractors working. Let us have supervisors going around to be sure that not only are you saying this money is going to education, but we want to see a quality education. Because over there, it's not about the number of classes we have, but the quality of education the students get. That is the only way they can stand head and shoulders with other people of other place. Now we're seeing that the Vice President Richard he actually had a delegate talking about the Deputy Speaker, where the need for insecurity in Southeast needs to be visited. We remember the custom every Monday, and we see that home that was ordered over there, and then it has really affected business in the Southeast. And this is the need for the Vice President to say, what can we do? And he has said that the only way is to have a different approach, because it's obvious the various approach they have been given, or the way they have been approaching the whole thing, is no longer working. And so therefore they have gone for a non-kinetic approach. And that is to say, going for cyber ways, thinking of maybe communication, building of bridges, dialoguing, shaking of arms, of hands, sorry, and then a lot of that. But then, how sure are we that this approach is going to work, Rachel? Because believe you me, there are times that was being, I remember that of the Boko Haram here. We remember a former governor said that, why don't we have dialogue? And I said, these people do not want to talk. They are not friends of Nigeria, so why should the government treat them like friends? Even though that of the IPOP is quite peculiar, because they have made their, or whatever, their state clear to the government. We want to be on our own. It's either you give us our country or you have no peace. And I think this is where I really think that the better way is to actually have a dialogue. We saw one of the things where we saw the Indiba saying that the only way that they would support the president if Kalu is being released. And I said it shouldn't be because of an individual. Rather, it should be because of the whole. We should see that, yes, the president have done something well, and everybody needs to benefit. It shouldn't be because I want my brother out of prison, therefore I need you to do that for me before I give you my mandate. No, but it should be that you have a track record, you have the character that I think is commendable. So looking at this conversation between the Vice President and also the deputy speaker, where they were talking about different approach. What is your own take about the approach to take down so we can have peace in the southeast?
I mean, Celeste, sit at home is not chaotic, for example. So it's only appropriate if you use a non-kinetic method to be able to fight it. It's not a violent approach. It's just a subtle, troublesome approach in a way, because there's no use of force. Nobody is being killed. Nobody is just, you just threaten people in a subtle way, and it's just more of a threat, you know, like, okay, you have to sit at home. If you dare violate, you will be in trouble or something. This is just the nature of sit at home. For that reason, for example, of course, you have to use a method that is not of force, because I mean, this big English non-kinetic just means no use of force.
Yeah, no use of force. No military is involved.
No
I think that's the word.
Exactly. Yeah. No harsh way of going about it. Let's go about it in a peaceful way. So yes, looking at the nature of what is happening in the southeast, as it is now, Sele, the government has no better option. Of course, you know, when it comes to resolving conflict at any point, it's always best to start with such methods until it escalates to the stage where there is a need for force. Then, I mean, when we talk about terrorism, you can't dialogue with people pointing guns at you. You also point guns back at them also, and depending on the situation. And that is why I believe when it comes to, for example, Boko Haram, we've passed the level of dialoguing, and is now forced, because we need to take back territories. We need to restore the peace in Nigeria, and then dialogue haven't gotten us anywhere. But there was a point in time where we started with dialogue. Exactly. And I believe that that is now the point where we are concerning the southeast, is we are still at the level of dialoguing and saying, okay, what do you want? And what is the way forward? We have a region that is industrious in nature, and we know what it means. It's crippling an economy. The sit at home is crippling an economy. It's crippling the livelihood of these people. And what it means is that the sit at home will lead to more crime, because by the time the people that are making money I do, they need to make a living, because whether we like it or not, whether they sit at home, whether they open their business or not, bills are piling up. Life goes on in the country, and including them, even if things are not moving on well in the state. The hardship, the inflation rate, everything is hitting on everybody, regardless of whether you sit at home or not. So it means that whether we like it or not, this could eventually result to a different type of crime in the southeast. Apart from the IPOP and all of that, it can result to another different type of crime, because we have young people whose livelihood due to sit at home has been taken away. So yes, the dialogue is okay for now, and we hope it works. That is always, when it comes to dialoguing, it's always that let it work. Let's choose the handshake method. Let's choose the peaceful way of going about things. Let's build bridges. Let's make friendship out of everything to see if we can make headway, and then hoping that it does yield something in results exactly at the end of the day, because we wouldn't want to see where force will be used in the southeast. We don't want war breaking out in another region. We don't want conflict breaking out in another region. We truly want a peaceful Nigeria, and for now, perhaps, let what will be in the hands of the federal government, our military, should be Boko Haram, Fulani herdsmen, or non-gunmen, and then we don't want anything more added to the insecurity in the country. So let's see how this approach goes, and we hope that it gives a lasting result.
Honestly, Rachel, that is the desire, that it gives the whatever result that we are hoping, you know. That was the same approach that was given to the militant in the Niger Delta, and it gave us the result we wanted. I mean, we don't hear the issue of militants again, except if the government will go back on its work. There was a drastic reduction of all of those crime over there, because we knew the number of soldiers we lost. We knew the number of people who died in Niger Delta as a result of that. But I mean, after sitting down, having dialogue, building of bridges rather than building of wall, and government keep it on its own part. You know, part of the thing that the vice president here is saying is the fact that empowering the youth, and we know that once the youth are empowered, You have something doing. You will not be idle. Why should you
won't be
get
idle, yeah.
busy doing things that will not produce any result eventually? So just like you said, it's our desire that this approach will give us the result we all desire eventually.
Yes.
That the Southeast will keep to its own part of the bargain, the government will keep to its own part of the bargain by making sure you give the youth all that they need to be empowered. Now, Rachel, we cannot end the show without still looking at education. We started looking at some of the education governors have given, and here we're having our lecturers calling on the federal government, or rather ASU calling on the federal government to please pay attention to what is happening in the universities. Our universities are in a deplorable state presently, Rachel. When you visit some of the hostels, it's an eyesore. You need to see the welfare of some of our lecturers. They are living, looking for greener pasture. I'm going to talk about the condition of service. The allowances don't come as it should be. The reason why ASU went on strike, Rachel, till date the government is yet to even visit some of the terms of conditions they give them. It seems as if that memorandum of understanding have not seen any daylight whatsoever. And now question is, what is the government planning to do about this? Because Rachel, if these stories keep making it, every day we have been talking about education. That is to tell us there is a red alert on these issues. Either we do something, or one day you wake up and realize that whole federal university, we're having just 3 or 4 staff. And maybe not even academic staff anymore, but maybe non-academic staff. That is the way we are moving. We do not take caution immediately, because that is why ASU is calling on the government to please pay attention to what is happening. Security is lacking in our universities. Our lecturers are leaving. Students cannot even afford to make it to the school. Why? Because tuition fees high. Yesterday we saw the 100% increment in some of the universities. And a lot of things that need the attention of the federal government. And that's why they are calling on the president to please do something about this. We saw when Labour did the same thing. I mean, it seems that when you're talking to the minister, he's not giving you a listening ear. So you need the president to maybe come and actually see issues like this. And that is why ASU is still calling on the president again. Please do something, or else you are losing your lecturers. And the more they leave, there will be nobody to teach the students again. No wonder we are having half-baked lecturers right now, or half-baked students or graduates.
Yeah.
You go to the hospital, some of the doctors cannot even tell you what is wrong with you. We're having a lot of buildings collapsing. Why? Because some of the architects are not even qualified enough to become architects. So a lot of things are lacking. And I think that this is really a clarion call for our president to please listen to what ASU is saying, and please check the universities. A lot of things are happening there.
Sally, when it comes to mismanagement, it falls across every place, every agency, every institution, every organization. And by virtue of design of how institutions are, is that they should be able to take care of certain things, not everything. And we can say that the demand by ASU is not important, but at this point, we can tell ASU one thing after another. Because the demands keep piling and coming, and you wonder whether we like it or not, Sele, there has to be a scale of preference. There has to be a priority list. There has to be a list, and there should be number 1, number 2, number 3. Now, what do ASU want the federal government to come first to their aid? Is it the deplorable state of the varsities? Now, we cannot underplay the importance of good facilities. However, I believe there should also be maintenance culture in these varsities. And over the years, we've also seen mismanagement.
Because
exactly. Because where there should be maintenance in faculties and buildings to be able to sustain what the government had been able to put in place, there was no such thing. And therefore, these facilities started depreciating as a result of negligence, even from the management of the university. So at this point, is ASU going to only point the hand to the federal government? Of course not. You should also take some fault of the things you are being able to neglect, because whether we like it or not, universities, institutions do generate some revenue. Of course, the expenses are much, Sele. That's why I said this is not all about saying your demands are not important. But I want to believe that in your scale of preferences, what is your number 1? I want to see where ASU focuses on 1 until the federal government comes to that need and there is sustainability in that area, then we move to number 2. Because as it stands now, what is the threat to our university? I believe is the welfare of the lecturers, and that is why they are leaving. I believe is the salaries. I believe is everything around sustaining these lecturers. That is why they are leaving the country. That's why we're having half-baked lecturers, because they are one leg here, one leg out there, being on sabbatical, left, right, center, just to be able to make money. And this is affecting the system. So when we have this priority, I want to see one thing after. Let's see ASUU hitting on one thing, until the government comes to listen to that one thing. Then we move to item number 2. When item number 2 is being checked on the list, we move to number 3. Are the facilities important? Absolutely important. But have there been mismanagement also at the point? Yes, there is also. So these are all the things we need to look at and say, okay, you know what? These institutions, what have you been able to do for yourself also with the revenue generated, regardless of how small it is? It has the ability to do something. And then what is it that you need the federal government to step in? And these are the things that we look into. But let's have some priority so that we can grow eventually. Because if the requests are just spread all across, we might end up not having any achieved at the end of the day, and that would be more dangerous to the growth of the varsities and all of that. So I just hope that we just prioritize, and then just one thing after the other, and then eventually we will see growth.
Richard, I totally agree with you, because there are certain things that some of these federal universities can do without the federal government coming in. I mean, we know a number of universities that the moment if the VC came in, he was able to make 1 or 2 things, repairs in the school. I know of one where you could see the library is up to standard.
Yes.
Why? Because the VC felt that I need to make sure that they're equivalent, like books that are there that students can read. Make sure that they have free Wi-Fi. Make sure everything is comfortable. True. How about the hostels? At the hostel, do the students have everything that they need? How about the roads, the maintenance you're talking about? Because over the years, I believe you could do 1 or 2 things within before the government will come in. And I think it's better this university, okay, we will do this. Of course, if you're complaining that lecturers are leaving and you do not have the power to employ lecturers, you're waiting on the federal government. I think this is where we have to call the federal government to please make sure they make employment so that we have more lecturers. Because with the number of unemployed people we are having, I think this should be a place where we have people that have first, second degree, doctorate and all of that. Let us have people in the university, because basically we're looking at academic staff here.
Yes.
That is what this ASUU are complaining about. But then for any other thing, if you can fix it, go ahead and start doing something. It's not about increasing tuition fee, and then we cannot see anything.
We can't see anything exactly.
And then you wonder, so what explanation do you have for increasing the tuition fee, where some of these schools do not even have electricity for the students to study? You actually have a time where you off the generator for them to study. So why are you increasing the tuition fee? Increase the tuition fee, and then we see what you're using it for. I believe parents will be gladly pay whatever it is if they know that their wards are getting the right amount of whatever attention they're supposed to get. So we are hoping that when ASUU is pointing a finger, remember 4 are pointing back at you. So you're pointing at the federal government. Parents are also looking up to you to make sure that whatever money has been given to you, as we are paying, just like yesterday, we look at the fact that you pay departmentals twice, you pay SUG twice. Your dues, you pay everything twice. So what are you doing with all of this money? So just like we're saying, they also generate their own revenue. So they should do something. We know of universities that some of these lecturers, they have other non-academic staff that are running 1 or 2 businesses, business centers and all of that. They're generating funds to the university. You have some shops you've given out and all of that. So it's another way of creating revenue for the school. So we hope that these lecturers and ASUU will look at things from that point of view to know that they also have a part to play to making sure that things are working in the school. But for the lecturers, we're calling on the federal government to please listen to the cry of ASUU and also make sure that you open the employment so that people can, get employed into the university system. So Rachel, thank you so much for doing this program with me. All right, and thank you to our viewers and also our supporters at home for keeping it with us on Nigeria Now. Until we come again tomorrow, do have a blessed day ahead.